Greece is revealing that they're not pro-dialogue, pro-diplomacy with these steps and with the support of the EU. And they think that the EU support is unconditional, but recently their stance has changed as well. Unfortunately, they continue to exhibit a negative stance. As Turkey, we stand ready and committed to such a dialogue, and we will support such initiatives of the Secretary General.
Okay, let's speak now to American University professor of political science, William Lawrence. Thanks so much for being with us. You know, when Turkey says Greece is not sincere in trying to resolve this dispute, it reminds us of kind of similar complaints during negotiations, of course, over Cyprus. It all kind of comes down, correct me if I'm wrong here, to Greece and Greek Cyprus kind of having very little to gain in negotiations with Turkey, but something to lose if they do negotiate.
Yes, I think there's a lot of truth in that. I think the main issue is that Greece wants to control whatever negotiations happen to get the best outcome for what it wants, which is another way of restating what you're saying. I think there's sort of three levels and three time periods of negotiation we're looking at here. We're looking at a short-term negotiation, which NATO is trying to sponsor to avert war. We're looking at a medium-term negotiation about how to negotiate about the long-term Aegean island dispute, which has gone on for over a century. And then we need that deal to be made in order to have a long-term sustainable solution. And in each of those, Greece and Turkey has things it can do and not do in terms of positioning itself to get the best out of negotiations. And right now, Greece isn't even negotiating on averting war because it thinks it has more to gain by simply pointing the finger at Turkey and not talking to them. But ultimately, for all steps of these negotiations, talks will have to be had.
Right. Tell me, is the EU itself absolutely obligated to back Greece, no matter what it does?
No, and I think a lot of this, or at least a big chunk of it, goes back to what the law of the sea is all about in these maritime claims and continental shelf and islands and all that. And I think the biggest thing sort of blowing up the maximalist EU and Greece position is the fact that Greece has already negotiated different dispositions for different islands. So if you look at a sort of map of the Aegean and all these different islands with different colors and categories on these various maps, you'll see that each island has a different continental shelf, which has already been negotiated before. And I think we won't have a one island solution fits all islands, thousands of islands, when we come to an ultimate deal here. And that has to be negotiated and will be negotiated. But a maximalist position that just says that a tiny island, a few kilometers off the coast of Turkey gets to claim an area 4,000 times the size of an island doesn't make sense. And I think this is one of Turkey's best arguments. I think, talking about sincerity of the Greece and that sort of thing, can go a certain distance. But in the end, these are kind of historical crimes against Turkey that go back to the Italian-Turkish War of 1911-1912, when basically every island almost right up to the Turkish coast was claimed by Italy and then handed off to Greece after World War II. And that has to be renegotiated. It's just not fair. Imagine if Greece had Turkey holding islands 2 kilometers off its coast going back 100 years to a war. The solution isn't warfare, but it has to be negotiated. You can't just hold all these islands forever.
Right. Finally, William, I have to ask you about the Greek deal with Egypt. Does it really benefit Greece? Is that why they signed it, or does it simply hurt Turkey?
I think the most important thing to say is that the Greek-Egyptian deal was a response to the Turkish-Libyan deal, and all of these deals are non-binding on third parties. So they're sort of like stakes in the ground, flags in the ground saying this is mine, and the other guy comes up and puts a flag in the ground and says it's mine, and there's no obligation for a third party to, or in this case, my metaphor, a second party to agree with that flag in the ground. And so it has to be negotiated. And that's very clear under international law and interpretations of law of the sea. And this idea that somehow if Greece and EU are a signatory of law of the sea, that Turkey has to abide by every interpretation of it. And one of the ironies here is the U.S. is a non-signatory of the law of the sea, like Turkey, and yet the U.S. is waving their finger at Turkey saying, follow the law of the sea, which kind of is ironic.
Right. William Lawrence, great to have you. Thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.